Imagine finally getting a second chance. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because you finally became brave enough to choose peace. It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover isn't just another romance novel. It's a story about healing, moving forward, and discovering that love doesn't always have to hurt. If you've already read It Ends With Us, you probably wondered, what happens next? Well, this book answers that question. And don't worry, this review is completely spoiler-free. So whether you're deciding if it's worth reading or simply curious about the story, you're in the right place. Let's begin. It Starts With Us continues the journey of Lily Bloom. After everything she has been through, life is finally beginning to feel a little more peaceful. She's balancing motherhood, running her flower shop, and trying to create a stable future for herself and her daughter. But life has a funny way of bringing the past back, especially when unfinished stories still exist. One day, someone important from Lily's past returns. Atlas Corrigan. The boy who once understood her when nobody else did. Years have passed. They are no longer the same people they used to be. They've grown, changed, and learned difficult lessons about life. Now, they're given something they never truly had before, an opportunity to see where life might take them. But moving forward is never simple, especially when your past is still connected to your present. At its heart, this isn't simply a romance. It's a story about second chances. Not everyone gets another opportunity in life. Sometimes the right people meet at the wrong time. Sometimes life forces us apart before we're ready. And sometimes, after years of growing, healing, and becoming stronger, life quietly brings those people back together. That's exactly what makes this novel feel different. It doesn't rush into romance. Instead, it asks a simple question. What happens when two people meet again, after they've both changed? The story focuses less on dramatic twists and more on emotional conversations, trust, respect, and learning how healthy relationships actually grow. One thing Colleen Hoover does incredibly well is writing relationships that feel human. Nobody is perfect. Every character carries emotional baggage. Some are trying to heal, some are trying to forgive, some are simply trying to move forward. Throughout the novel, we see characters making difficult choices, not because they're easy, but because they're necessary. The book explores themes like co-parenting, boundaries, personal growth, family, and emotional healing. Rather than asking, who deserves love? It quietly asks, what does healthy love actually look like? And that's a much more interesting question. One of the biggest reasons readers love this novel is Atlas. If you've read the previous book, you already know he wasn't given an easy life. But in It Starts With Us, we finally spend much more time with him. We understand his thoughts, his dreams, his fears, and the kind of man he's become. Instead of simply seeing him through someone else's eyes, we finally hear his own voice. His chapters add warmth, hope, and depth to the story. Without giving anything away, this book allows readers to understand Atlas far better than ever before. And for many fans, that's one of its greatest strengths. If you're expecting constant drama, unexpected twists, or non-stop emotional heartbreak, this book may surprise you. Because its biggest strength isn't chaos, it's comfort. After everything that happened previously, this novel feels like taking a deep breath. The pace is softer, the emotions are quieter, the focus shifts from surviving to living. Some readers loved this change, others wished for more tension. But if you enjoy character-driven stories filled with emotional conversations, hope, and healing, there's a good chance you'll appreciate what this book offers. So, is It Starts With Us worth reading? If you enjoyed It Ends With Us and found yourself emotionally invested in Lily's journey, then yes. This book provides more time with characters you've come to care about, while exploring what happens after the hardest chapters of life. It's not trying to outdo the previous novel. Instead, it completes an emotional journey. Think of it less as another dramatic story, and more as a hopeful continuation. Sometimes, the most beautiful stories don't begin with fireworks. They begin after the storm has passed. It Starts With Us reminds us that healing takes time, healthy love requires patience, and new beginnings